Welcome to Main Street Mavericks, celebrating conversations with exceptional Main Street businesses who serve friends and neighbors in your community. Here's your host, Joel Helfer.
Good afternoon, this is Joel Helfer, and welcome to another episode of Main Street Mavericks Radio. Today we have a very special guest, Clint Evans, CEO and co-founder of StandOutAuthority.com. Clint is an online media strategist. He's a #1 Amazon best-selling author. He's a host of various online radio shows, and he's an industry authority builder. He's also a columnist for Entrepreneur.com and part of Business.com expert contributor program. And he's written articles that have been published by Yahoo, the Austin Business Journal, and was one of the first to get accepted to publish full articles on LinkedIn. He's taught workshops for the Small Business Administration and Creative Live, and he's also, like I said, the co-founder of StandOutAuthority.com. Welcome to the show, Clint.
Yeah. Thank you for that wonderful introduction there, Joel.
Oh, you're welcome. It's nice to talk to you. Clint and I are friends for a long time, and we both used LinkedIn as a way to develop our businesses. And now there's been a major change in LinkedIn, Clint, and I wonder if you could tell me about what's going on with LinkedIn now that it's been purchased by Microsoft.
Yeah, as any business owner can probably suspect, whenever a company gets purchased, especially Microsoft paid $26.2 billion, they're going to make some changes to get that investment back and make sure that it aligns with some of their other projects and products. So some just quick speculation that I could see happening over the next 12 to 18 months is that LinkedIn profiles and data might come into Skype and be easily clickable. If you're thinking about, if you get a connection request from somebody on Skype that wants to add you as a contact, it might also include their LinkedIn profile, so you can click on that, have easy access to see if you want to accept that. If it's somebody that you've not met or met a while back, their Office suite of products, whether it's Microsoft Excel or Word, might have some integrations and easy access into LinkedIn profiles and team members that are working on a project. So I imagine there will be a lot more integration, and maybe as well on the LinkedIn side, there'll be more access to Microsoft's cloud-based stuff if you're working in a team or people in the same company.
Wow. I know that for a long time there's been a lot of misconceptions and misunderstanding about the value of LinkedIn for the average business owner, online entrepreneur. What are some of the misconceptions people have about LinkedIn that they shouldn't?
Well, the misconceptions come in, and one of the groups I've been working a lot with, just under an overall heading of revenue generator. If you're responsible to bring in revenue, to bring in sales, whether you're the owner of the company, entrepreneur of a startup, or if you're in a business development role, sales, marketing, any of those types of roles, people, they see that, LinkedIn has a lot of professionals on there. If you're in a B2B role, and occasionally if you're doing channel partnerships or strategic alliances with a consumer company that you're looking to work with other companies that serve your same audience, same customer base, they've seen that there's a lot of possibilities, but two big problems, as you talked about those misconceptions, are people don't know how to use the LinkedIn tool. They have a profile and they say, okay, now what? How do I use it? How does the LinkedIn ecosystem work? How can I be effective on there and use it properly? Second group is those LinkedIn members that they set up their profile, they do a little bit, or they test out one system or a software or something, and it doesn't produce, doesn't work for them. They put in some effort, and it just doesn't work. And so they say, well, I tried some things, and it didn't work for me. So there's a lot of misconceptions about what's okay on LinkedIn, what's not okay. And to give you some guidelines, it's put yourself in a different mindset than Facebook. People on LinkedIn, you and I have talked about this, Joel. You can put a few personal things on your profile, like you've got the section of additional interest, which is in the new interface. That's another big thing going on here when you talk about misconceptions. LinkedIn is switching all of their members over, at least all indications are, to the more mobile type user interface. Right now they've got something that members would see on a desktop or laptop, which is still where a lot of people use LinkedIn, on their workstation at work to drive business. But of course some people do use it on their smartphone. About half, I think, is their numbers, 50-50. So they're switching members over to that more mobile looking member interface when you log in. So even if you're on a desktop or a laptop, it's going to be more of that mobile type of interface. Some of the drop-down menus are going away. It's going to be more icon type of based. So some of the things that you're accustomed to have access to on LinkedIn are going to go away. On the free membership side, they're going to move over to Sales Navigator. Some of the other things are going to be buried under different icons and places, so they're going to be a little bit harder to find. And so
it sounds
I guess
like
some of the
you're going to have to
misconceptions are, what's that?
Pardon me for interrupting. It sounds like you're going to have a re-education process with the new ownership of LinkedIn. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of need for education and new knowledge around, because again, some of the most useful things in internet, in LinkedIn, when we're talking about misconceptions, that there's a simple process. Some of the things you'll see, you probably get them, Joel, as well, is for some reason when people get in front of a computer, in front of their smartphone screen, some of the general rules that we have when we meet people in person at a business event fly out the window. So once you're connected with somebody, you've probably gotten that message from somebody that you just accepted their connection request, or they just accepted your connection request, and immediately, instead of like a welcome message or a hey, hello, like if you met somebody in person, we'd probably say, hey, how you doing? What's your name? You'd say, oh, hey, I'm Joel. Hey, Joel, I'm Clint. We'd probably reach out, do a quick handshake. So what brought you to this event? Or, what kind of work are you into? Start the conversation with something simple like that. On LinkedIn, a lot of times, they accept your connection request, and then they send you that first message. Hey, Joel, I'm in this greatest business ever. Click this link and check it out. It's only a 17-minute video or a 5-minute video or whatever. So one of the big misconceptions is people don't put themselves, they have that separation. Put yourself in the mindset of, I had just met this person at a business event or a conference or a networking event. And if you see LinkedIn through the lens of the world's largest 24/7 business networking event, that's a much better mindset and communication approach. You'll get a lot better results.
That's good advice. I know one of my favorite messages that I send out that people get a kick out of is I'll say, hi, whatever your name is, like, hi, Clint. This is Joel Helfer. Thanks for connecting with me. I'm from Windermere, Florida, a suburb of Orlando, and it's 75 and sunny out. How's the weather in your neck of the woods? And that's the message I send out. And people laugh at me. But I get a really good response. I get people sending me messages back like, hi, Joel, I'm from Pittsburgh. I wish I was in Florida. It's 4 degrees and there's 3 inches of snow on the ground.
Yeah, let's unpack two things there. I've just been reading this fantastic book called Small Data by Martin Lindstrom. He's traveled all over the world and noticed cultural differences and works for big brand companies to uncover what he calls small data. When he interviews people, looks around in their homes, how they do things to uncover what leads to their desire, what do they aspire to. And so that whole how is the weather there, when you're talking about the weather in Florida, it's a talking point in a lot of Western countries, the U.S. and Canada and a few other countries. But what Martin found is he was attempting to make that kind of small talk with a taxi driver in Colombia, and it was just like bouncing off a deflector shield. The guy kind of looked at him funny and didn't answer, and then Martin said another sentence or two, and then, so yeah, the weather's been kind of crazy. And again, the taxi driver didn't bite, and so he kind of wondered, and he figured out, hey, there's no weather station in Colombia because the weather is basically right around 70 degrees and some humidity. You know, it rains some, but that's about it, and it's just not a talking point. So something simple like that, that's a good talking point for people in, you know, the Western world making that small talk. So know a little bit about your culture in different countries, and what are those points of small talk or things that you would use in that in-person networking setting or first setting up a potential deal or strategic alliance with someone. How would you start that conversation in person and do as close to that as you can through digital means?
That's a good suggestion. Another one that I use, which I find is a good way to start and break the ice, is when I select people to connect with, Geographic Affinity is really good. Like when I used to live in Chicago, and I would find people to talk to that were from the same city, there was always something to mention that was interesting. And now that I'm in Orlando, I'm doing the same thing and connecting with people from the same general geographical area. And there's tons of them. And it just creates not a bond, but it creates a kinship, which makes it easier to talk to people. And I never did that before. But now I'm starting to, not just talk to everybody all over the world, but find people within like 100, 200, or the same state that you live in. And it just works so much better.
That's a brilliant point. The one other thing I wanted to make about that personal thing, like we talked about additional interests or hobbies and organization, put some of those things on your profile so you can attract those people that believe along the same lines or believe in the goals of those organizations or have those kind of hobbies, because that's a talking point, as you're talking about, Joel. Geographically is one talking point. Certain things around there or people that live in the Orlando area, there are some commonalities that you can start the conversation off with. And so you can also put those in your profile and search for those in other people's profiles, which is the second point I wanted to make about how you found search and targeting. That's a big thing. You probably heard it online, but it's very important in LinkedIn, because the mindset of the LinkedIn member is they're usually more ambitious. They're making a higher income level, depending on the numbers you look at. LinkedIn members make $83,000 on average. Some research shows that LinkedIn members make $107,000 or more on average. So you've got 80% of the Fortune 1000 CEOs are on there. Pretty much any decision maker that you're looking to reach in a small business is going to be there, but they're there to improve their business or improve their career. So they want business-related stuff, relevant stuff to them, and in that business setting, that's why targeting is maybe more important there than on other platforms, because there's just a low tolerance for something that they perceive as not customized or relevant to them. And it's getting tougher as we've talked a little bit about the Microsoft buyout and the new user interface going more toward the similar look to what it is on mobile devices right now is being rolled out to all devices. We're losing some of the main useful features that were for free members are moving over to the Sales Navigator. I'm talking about the ability to do saved searches. So you might have set up a Google alert, Joel, on your name or your company name or other types of keywords. Have you ever done that?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So you can do similar concept inside of LinkedIn, the saved search. So maybe you find that if you do a search for CEO and you do negatives to filter out like assistant to the CEO or executive assistant to the CEO, there's some things you can do in advanced search to, have negative filters that take out assistants and really get that targeting to only people that are in a CEO role currently in the Orlando area. So that would be an advanced search. Again, that's moving over to the Sales Navigator, and that's probably the most useful feature if you're using LinkedIn as a tool to get leads and sales. Once you've honed that search in, then you had the ability to save it on the free side in the old interface. Again, that save search is moving over to Sales Navigator. And depending on what level you're at, I think LinkedIn is still offering for most members a 3-month trial to Sales Navigator at no charge. So you'll have to look into that depending on when you're listening to this recording or seeing our blurbs about it. And just to be clear, neither Joel nor I gets any kind of commission from LinkedIn right now for talking about it. Hopefully Microsoft will initiate a partner program that they've had so much success with to grow their company, to sell Windows and Office Suite and all that in the 80s and 90s and even in the 2000s. So that could be an interesting innovation as part of Microsoft buying LinkedIn, but it's not there yet. So basically we don't get any kind of commission for recommending it. We're just telling you what's going on. Another big factor is, again, staying with our example of CEO, only people in a current CEO role in the Orlando area that you were talking about, Joel. Mm-hmm. You could put in the old free member user interface, you could have what they call tags. So you could apply a tag CEO Orlando to those people you connected with, and over a month or 2 or 6 month campaign that you were targeting those people and reaching out, making connection requests, communicating with them, you might build up a list of 150, 300, 425 of those. You could apply a tag CEO Orlando, and then you could filter that out in your old member interface by that tag. You could search by that tag, and then maybe you had a specific message you wanted to send only to your connections that were CEOs in Orlando. Again, that tagging feature has moved over to Sales Navigator. So it's still on the free side for a lot of people that have the old interface. I'm still on the old interface, but at any time as we get deeper into the first quarter of 2017 and the second quarter of 2017, the way all indications are is that the full LinkedIn membership is going to be moved over to the new user interface, and those 3 most useful features are going to go over to Sales Navigator.
What about one of the other features that I like to use a lot is it's who's looked at your profile. And the nice part about that is I find that people who actually look at your profile, you get to see their picture, and you find out either they're a first or second or third connection. Those people have some interest. So I look at that as a prospect list, and I always connect or at least send a message to everyone who's looked at my profile, just thanking them for looking in a brief introduction. Is that going to be going away, or is that going to just be on Sales Navigator now? Do you know?
It looks like a portion of that will remain. But most of it, again, is going to move over to Sales Navigator. As you know, with the old members, the old user interface, I think you could see 4 or 5. I've been on Sales Navigator for a while, so I haven't seen the old interface. I've had Sales Navigator for over 12 months now. But I think they would show you like the most recent 5, and then they would show you, view who's viewed your profile over the last 90 days, upgrade now. So that's a big change that I don't think they're going to show you that data or give you access to that in the new member interface from the people I've talked to.
In the old system, I can go back almost a month, and whoever's looked at my profile, and it could be substantial. Sometimes I have as many as 400, 500, 600 people over a 30, 60-day period looking at my profile because of the way I do it. And that's like it's almost like a prospect list,
Yeah, that's going away for all indications for free members in the new, more mobile-looking user interface they're rolling out across all devices. So
that's a shame.
Like you said, that's one of the most useful features, and no matter what we think the motives are, whether that's because Microsoft bought them out or if LinkedIn was going to do that anyway, they are moving that over for the paid members of Sales
I know
Navigator.
another thing that you're very expert at that seems to be kind of either going away or hidden are the Pulse articles. Because it used to be at one time where you could write a Pulse article, get a lot of people to look at it, and then they had the influencers group with their Pulse articles, and that was a real good way of getting the latest and up-to-date information on almost any topic you can think of. But that's changing too, isn't it? How is that changing?
Yeah, let's I wanted to give one final piece of information on the profiles. What we're seeing for free members, all indications are that you're only going to be able to view about 20 profiles a day before they say that's too much activity. Sales Navigator, the number is 400. The higher levels will be 800, and then, of course, Recruiter is unlimited. So if you view too many profiles, they'll put you in a 24-hour, quote, jail. So like you said, there's a lot of changes going on the Pulse side where you're publishing articles. To your question there, LinkedIn has really throttled the distribution that you can get. And as you're looking to generate revenue for your company or in your sales or business development role or your marketing agency, that's what it's all about, generating revenue for your company or your clients. And so distribution is the biggest reason you would write those articles. It's great to have the thought leadership and, that industry authority, those type of things build your celebrity and renown inside of an industry. But you're investing that time. Content is expensive to create. It either takes your time, you got to pay somebody on your team to create it, and then what I recommend is if you're going to be successful with content, the reason a lot of people are not is they're not designing it right. They don't have the intention that it's going to produce leads and sales. So they don't go into it with that campaign that, okay, here's the outcome we're looking for, here's what we want it to do, and here's how we're going to make that happen. Got to be very intentional and plan that out. And then you've got two paths because LinkedIn is not giving the distribution. When we first started out in February of, I think it was 2014 when they opened up the platform, man, you could click the publish button, Joel, and you'd get 500 or 1,000 views without doing anything else. Write the article, click the publish button, and LinkedIn just distributed it out like crazy for you. It was fantastic. But it was probably about June or July of 2016, LinkedIn changed the game. I started noticing that a lot of members I was looking at who had been getting 500 or 1,000 views, they were now getting 100 or 80 views. And then in about August or September, I noticed that LinkedIn, they would show you, based on your profile, Joel, your interest, things that you'd clicked on, they would show you the top 3, Pulse articles for the day relevant to you and your interest in your industry. That was right at the top when you logged in. You would have, post a status update, upload a photo, or write an article. And right underneath that was the 3 most popular Pulse articles based on your interest. They've now moved that section down. I'll see it anywhere between 9 posts down up to 20 or 23 posts down. They're now showing photos from your connections of status updates your connections have posted or YouTube videos. They've prioritized those. So that's way buried, and I know that was contributing a lot of the distribution to these articles. So the big point is you've got to have the 2 paths to distribute and promote your content. So there's 2 pieces, creating the content and then distributing that content. And so on the distribution side, there's basically 2 paths. You can go with the slow way where you're going to put it in your rotation. Think of a TV show, you ever had one of the TV shows that you're interested in show a rerun, Joel?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Okay. Similar concept. A lot of people I talk to, they're scared to post the same article as an update a second time on LinkedIn, or post it multiple times on their Twitter feed. You got to do reruns, because not everybody's going to. First, LinkedIn doesn't show, when you do a status update, LinkedIn may only show it to 5% or less of your connections. I've got, I think, 10,521 first-degree connections right now, and when I post an update, it shows you how many views on your latest update. A lot of times it'll be between 200 and 1,000 people. So I'm getting between 2% and 10% of my connections only that are seeing that status update. So that means 90 to 98% didn't even see the update when I said, hey, I published this new article. Here's a quick blurb. Here's why you should look at it. So that's why you've got to do rebroadcast. And even, that 2 to 10%, sometimes people, if you publish that in the morning, not everybody's checking their LinkedIn right then in the morning. They may not see it. So different times a day, as people's attention is so fragmented. So that's why you've got to either do the rerun, rebroadcast concept, or pay somebody on your team to do that. And you can have a Google Sheet or an Excel spreadsheet as you're building your content vault of, here's what we're going to post on what days to our LinkedIn. Here's what we're going to post on what days and what times to our Twitter. Because obviously you don't want to post an update to an article on your LinkedIn at 12 p.m. and then post the exact same update at 1 p.m. and at 2 p.m. You do want to vary it, morning, maybe afternoon, evening, and mix it up. But just have a schedule. Either you or a virtual assistant or somebody on your team has got to do that rerun, rebroadcast method. Now, the second path, if you want to go a little faster, is you take the advice of some of the best marketers, best companies in the world, and they do a 1 to 4 concept, is what I've seen in my research. So for every $1 they spend to create the content, they have a $4 budget set aside to pay for ads and promotion of that content.
And that's in order to get it out and generate enough interest in publicity. The one thing that I have found, which is extremely interesting to me and fits in exactly with what you're saying, is lately we've been doing these radio interviews like we're doing this afternoon with you. Thank you very much, by the way. And then we've been posting them on Google and YouTube and LinkedIn. And I've been getting phenomenal results from it, because what's happening is that these interviews are given a high position on Google. It's usually on the first page, not only for me, but for whoever the actual interviewee is. We have a little YouTube channel, and then I'm actually reposting them on Twitter. And what's happening is that organically my Twitter following is increasing. I'm getting views for the interviews on YouTube. I'm getting a better response on LinkedIn. And here's the best part. People are actually picking up the phone to talk to me, which is really amazing.
Yeah, so that's the whole goal, or should be the one sole focus for most companies. Now, if you sell a real low-dollar product, maybe people like a $20 product or maybe even up to a $100 product, you can have a cool content piece or a cool demo. Think of, not that you would do this, but the ShamWow guy in the infomercials. You demonstrate a product and then, hey, go to the website and buy. But even a lot of times those guys have an 800 number that you call. Right. So it's possible that you can develop content, have a strategy, link right to the page where they're going to just pay money online. You never have to talk to them. But for most people, especially if you're using LinkedIn, you've got a higher dollar product or service. We're talking multiple hundreds or $1,000. Some people are selling through LinkedIn are selling $1 million plus software and IT solutions. So, or $2 or $3 million piece of medical equipment. So those type of things, your content is wanting to attract, like you said, Joel, that phone appointment, because that's the step in your sales process that it can do. And then you've got to have your sales team or yourself that can take it from there. But that should be the goal if you're your content is to whatever that one outcome is. For most people, it's going to be generating that phone appointment, so you can find out if it's a good fit for a deal and go from there.
Yeah, and it's really not that hard to do. It usually takes me approximately 2 to 3 back and forth messages, and then if I determine that the person who I'm corresponding with on LinkedIn has some interest in what we're talking about, I'll say, hey, let's jump on the phone for a brief phone call. Here's my telephone scheduler. I use Schedule Once, which is another free promotion we don't get any remuneration from. And they schedule a phone call at their convenience. And then I look at my Google Calendar every week, and I've got a bunch of scheduled phone calls of people interested to talk about what I'm offering. And I just love that. And it's the only platform I've ever seen where you could do that.
A key concept of what you're talking about there, one is the efficiency and the productivity. You don't want to go back and forth 5, 6, 8 messages inside of LinkedIn. Oh, does 2 p.m. Friday fit your schedule? Oh, no, I'm in Eastern time, so how about Monday at 8? And you don't want to go back and forth like that. Like you said, just here is a way to schedule with me, send them that link, and then they can choose what's appropriate for them. And I think on your Schedule Once and a lot of these tools, you can set it out so that it only gives, the next 7 or 10 business days. You don't want to go too far, or then they forget or you forget, or the context gets lost in there. But the other big point is, like you said, if we're talking LinkedIn as a tool, it's a tool to get that connection and that conversation. So have the strategy, and like you said, it doesn't take much. If they see your content, or they see you posted in a group or one of your status updates, because you're connecting with relevant people as you're designing your campaign, we talked about that advanced search, maybe it's 2 or 3 messages, and then you're either going through email or the phone appointment. So you want to have a structured process that you figure out works best to get them off of LinkedIn and into a different communication channel as soon as it makes sense.
Yeah, I find I try to do it after 2 or 3 messages, and then if they don't respond, I usually go to the next person. It's just the way I find it, because if they're not interested in you enough to view your profile and schedule a phone call with you quickly, they usually don't have much interest. Plus, the other thing that's important that I've always done is I've made my complete digital profile congruent. In other words, if I'm going after people that are contractors, say, which is my background, then my profile is going to have a heading that has something about contractors, and the experience portion of my profile is going to have to show my background in the construction industry. And then if they look me up on Google, there's either going to have to be some articles or interviews about me relative to the construction business, and the same thing with YouTube or any of the other platforms. So when they think about me, they think about me as a contractor, and no matter where they look online, that position or the positioning is the same. And I think that's a mistake a lot of people make, is they don't have a consistent platform. Like they're a coach on one platform and an author on another platform, and then they're promoting something on a third platform, and it's just not consistent branding. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, you're key when you're talking about your overall brand, and that's the brand for your company and the brand for you as a business professional. So you're absolutely right. You're targeting your campaign, and again, it gets into those advanced search and save searches, which is where you're going to, once you get that dial in, you're going to save your time. You're going to be a lot more productive by doing that versus having to start the whole process again and maybe not even be able to filter down and be as precise as you want to be just on the free version of LinkedIn. Once you have those searches, you got to put yourself in their shoes and think, okay, they're busy. They don't want to use any time to do this. So you got to be super relevant, as you talked about, Joel. Construction workers want to see that you're doing work to help construction companies. You're doing interviews. You're providing services that's going to help their business. Then when they Google you to vet you, they see other pieces that you've designed around how you're helping construction companies. So making sure that's congruent across what people are researching and vetting you, that is a critical piece to preparing your brand for success on LinkedIn and elsewhere.
Yeah, I noticed that one thing that people may or not be aware of about you is you are a real LinkedIn expert, Clint, because you've been using this platform, I know, for years, and you've got to the point where you put together kind of a specialized, very useful program that you call the LinkedIn Intelligent Virtual Summit. Could you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's coming up. I've used LinkedIn to connect with a lot of the other trainers and speakers in the space so that I can, of course, mastermind. We can share ideas. Hey, this type of message really worked for me, or this type of psychological positioning really was effective and bumped me from 26%, phone acceptance rate to 32% or 35%. So we can share those type of ideas. And because you talked about, and I had seen it in the market as well, the two misconceptions about LinkedIn are people have it, but they say, oh, what do I do now? I don't know what to do with it. Or they've used it, they had some misconceptions about it, or didn't have the right type of system to get the benefit from it, the leads and sales. So I said, man, I want to put together a nice program, bring in these speakers, get you the similar experience to what you would have in an in-person conference, but in a digital and online format. So I brought together, we'll have between 17 and 20 speakers. We're still finalizing the last couple. I've already done 15 of the interviews, put those together. The whole theme of the online conference is for revenue generator, like we talked about. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, if you work at a big company in a business development role, a sales role, a marketing role, or if you work inside a small business in one of those roles, or you have an agency, you're doing freelance work, you're a graphic designer, you have to make sales, you have to bring in revenue as part of your job or to keep your business surviving. And so helping people use LinkedIn as a tool to do that. And or if you've got a consumer business, you're selling, health products or health supplements or jewelry or skincare or whatever you're selling, you can form some strategic partnerships and strategic allies, channel partners with companies that serve that same audience, but you've got to know how to use the LinkedIn tool. So one of our speakers, Mike O'Neill, he talks about he's got a lot of expertise in forming those channel partnerships and strategic allies. So we did a session on that. Did a session with Nate Keebman on how to craft a psychologically compelling messaging campaign based on who the audience is you're targeting, what kind of role, what kind of company they work in. Josh Turner, Vivica Von Rosen, we've got, I won't go through the whole 16 list here, but we cover from how to set up the foundations of your profile, the foundation of the mindset, some of the mindset tools. How do you form a new LinkedIn success habit that's sustainable? Because for most people, they haven't been using LinkedIn on a consistent basis because they didn't know how or they weren't getting the results. So now that you've got an effective 3-step process that we talk about in the summit, in the program, how to identify your ideal prospect, how to connect effectively, and how to social sell for profit. Those are the 3 steps that we go through. But, of course, you need the mindset foundation so that you can do this new behavior, take some new actions until it becomes a habit. And so that's very important. And then, of course, we talk about the, the advanced search, how to find those ideal prospects. We go in depth into the messaging campaign. How many messages before you go for the phone appointment? If they don't respond, then what do you do? Some of the content, JT O'Donnell, an official LinkedIn influencer, I interviewed her, and we talk about how she went from unknown to over 1.4 million followers on LinkedIn. So we cover all those pieces. We cover the new member interface. I talked with Mark Williams. He's been using the new member interface for a little over 4 months, one of the earliest to be switched over to it. And he illustrates 17 different pieces that have either gone away from the free member options, what's available to free members, or a lot of those that have migrated over to Sales Navigator. So we've got you covered going forward to adapt to the new changes and the foundations and the process that are the principles that work with humans to open those conversations and make those sales and get the profits.
If people want to participate in Linked Intelligence Virtual Summit, which sounds like a really fantastic program, how do they go about doing it?
Yeah, we'll have a link on the page of this interview, but if you want to write it down, it's a little bit long. It's linked, Linked, Linked Intelligence, and just how intelligence is spelled, INTELLIGENCE.com/summit. So linkedintelligence.com/summit. And like I said, it's a little bit long to type out, but you at least know what you're looking for. And now the link on this page where you see this interview or you see the blurb about it, you can click over there and get all the information, the speakers, the schedule, and everything that you're going to get out of the program.
Sounds fantastic. It sounds like you put in a lot of time and effort to put this together.
I appreciate that, Joel. And like a lot of entrepreneurs, I have that overconfidence, thinking that, you'll set 10 things to do for the week. Oh, yeah, I'll easily be able to accomplish this. This will only take me an hour. This thing will probably take me 3 hours. And then I get to the end of the week, damn, I only did 4 or 5. What happened here? So, yeah, it's to your point, it's taken many more hours to put this together than I originally had in my plan. So it's been a long journey, but it's also been very rewarding with what we've been able to get out and create inside of this program and provide a very useful, actionable 3-step process that people can use to get sustained, consistent lead flow to grow their business.
Not only that, but you told me, I understand that this is a potential program that you can get, that you can have pretty much for life if you want, where you can listen to this stuff over and over and over again, because sometimes when you only listen to it once, it doesn't have the full impact of listening to an interview or reading a book or reading an article more than once.
Yeah, the key is, and we looked at the learning pyramid. There's been a lot of research. This came out of I believe it is Bethel, Maryland. There's a laboratory that did a lot of research on how we as humans learn best. What are the best channels? What are the best methods for doing that? And as you move, just kind of seeing something or reading something is the first level. There's about 5% retention. Then you get into like lectures and videos is 10 to 15%. But you start getting into discussion groups and practice and then feedback loops. And then at the highest level where you understand it best is when you're teaching and training others. So we wanted to focus on having those elements there in the middle where you're practicing, you're doing it, you're implementing and getting feedback from the community. And we'll have a community group set up so that you can share ideas and mastermind. I love doing that. I'll be in there to help people out. But we wanted to focus on that. And like you said, repetition is the mother of learning as well. So that practice, going back through this worked, what did I miss? So we'll have a level where you can have lifetime access to the videos. Then we'll have 2 higher levels, again, with multiple different methods of learning that people were best. We'll have full transcripts in writing. We'll have the audio versions if you want to take it on your smartphone and listen on the go, or if you have, MP3 access in your vehicle's player, you can play it on your vehicle speakers as you're on your commute. We wanted to give access to that. And then at the final thing we provide is 1-page execution plan. So Joel, you may be going through and saying, my big challenge is having a consistent, steady flow of phone appointments that will lead to sales. Mm-hmm. Maybe your goal is to get 10 of those a week. Okay, so there may be 3 or 4 speakers in the summit that talk specifically to that 3-step process to identify those ideal prospects, connect effectively, and then the messaging campaign that you can social sell for profit. So you may find 3 of those speakers that you want to listen to, but you say, man, well, the other 15 or 16, not as relevant to me right now. I'm not going to invest the time to go through there, but you still feel like, hey, there's some good ideas I'm missing out on. That's where the one-page execution plans will come in with the top takeaways and top pieces from each of those interviews, so you can benefit even if you don't feel that it's 100% relevant to your main priority, number one priority right now.
Definitely sounds like a great program that people should take advantage of. And then if they want to get a hold of you directly, Clint, or find out more about what else you do at standoutauthority.com, how do they go about doing that?
Well, as you just said, that's one main hub right there. They can go to standoutauthority.com, and they can Google me, Clint Evans. My LinkedIn profile is usually in the number 1 spot, but at least in the top 3 spots. I definitely like to direct people there because I've done a lot of work on LinkedIn. I see the value of it and keep up with it, and I connect with people there. So I encourage you to send me a connection request. LinkedIn, depending on how much you know about it, there's something you can do. You can either ignore or you can click an I don't know button, and that does a little bit of demerit or a point against in LinkedIn's formula that they do. I don't do that to people. So if you're looking to connect with me there, I'll look at your profile and we'll probably connect. And in your message, just tell me why your connection. Hey, I heard Joel Helfer interview you, wanted to connect with you on LinkedIn. I'll definitely accept that because now I've got some context. I know that you're a real profile, and I'll accept that. I won't do the I don't know in that case. So I encourage people to connect with me there. Those would be the two main places. Once we connect there, then we might schedule a phone appointment. I might send you my calendar, and we can get on the phone.
Sounds good. I appreciate it, Clint. Thank you very much for talking this afternoon and giving us all the latest trends and the best information about what's going on with LinkedIn, which is now one of the major social media platforms online. And this has been another episode with Clint Evans from standoutauthority.com. And we thank
you, Joel.
Oh, it's a pleasure. You're welcome, Clint. And we thank everybody for listening, and I always signed off the same way. Have a little fun every day. Don't save it up. This is Joel Helfer from Main Street Mavericks Radio. Have a nice day.
You've been listening to Main Street Mavericks Radio with Joel Helfer. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit mainstreetmavericks.com.